Hi everyone, welcome back. Today is week 4 of my social isolation get ready with me's. I always film these at the end of the week in case anybody is confused. So I have just finished my 4th week social distancing working from home. And this week we're going to be using the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill, what's this one called? Dark Magic palette. I asked on Instagram stories if people wanted to see Ring the Alarm or Dark Magic, and Dark Magic won by 76%. Generally, these polls have been pretty heavily favored towards one. There hasn't been one where it's been like close to 50-50. Honestly, I was really surprised. I thought people were going to want to see the warm tone one, but I'm really happy because I really wanted to use Dark Magic. I may not mention everything that I'm using in this video because some of it gets really repetitive, like my eye primers, but I always list every single thing that I'm using in the description bar down below, including stuff like my nail polish and even like a shirt that I'm wearing. Okay, so getting into eye primer, because that's my first step every time. So how is everybody doing? This week started off okay-ish for me, but I feel like I kind of spiraled towards the end. I finally got over my cold. Jeez, 3 weeks of that sucker. That was just ridiculous. Finally got over it. Only started running yesterday, but it was really brutal. Like, I'm used to running at bare minimum 6 kilometers as like my shortest distance. So when I went out yesterday, I was like, okay, maybe I'll do like 5K. No, I did 1 kilometer and I was gasping for air. My lungs were hurting. I had a side stitch and I was like, okay, let's take this easy. So yesterday was Friday, Good Friday. We had the day off work. So I went for a 1 kilometer run. Today I was like, okay, your muscles aren't sore. You'll do 2 kilometers. So I did 2K just before filming this video and it was fine. But again, lungs are majorly hurting me right now. So I have to slowly build back up my lung endurance, I guess. My muscles aren't killing me, it's all in my lungs, but it's really frustrating to not just go straight back into what I was used to doing. That being said, I am exceptionally happy to be back outside running again because I feel like that was really missing from my routine in the last 3 weeks and it was just getting really, really depressing. Okay, so Dark Magic palette. I did a look almost 2 years ago that I really loved, and I'm gonna sort of try to replicate that one. What are we starting out with? I think I'm gonna start with Potion and put that through the crease. And that's gonna be kind of my color blowout shade. So the week started off decent because I started feeling better, which is always, you know, a little bit relieving after you've been sick for so freaking long. But it kind of disintegrated a little bit yesterday when I saw my friend Julie, which it's not really her fault, it's just how I'm feeling lately. We're still social distancing. She did not come over to hang out. She was dropping off a care package for Easter and she dropped it at my door, same thing as last week, and then like ran away 10 feet and I jumped out of my door, my condo door, into the hallway and was like, oh, I get to see you. And I got to tell her I love her and I miss her and all that, and she dropped the sweetest package too. And like I mentioned last week, just seeing her was also like helpful, but when I got back into my condo and I opened the package, I honestly just started frickin' bawling. I didn't have like a full-on breakdown because I don't think I've ever really had one before, but I was like ugly sobbing. It was really kind of an emotional thing, and I just was sat down on the sofa in the living room just like ugly frickin' crying. And I finally came back in the computer room here where I am right now and sat down on my computer and told my husband how I was feeling, and he just ran over and just held me for a little bit, even though he was in the middle of a video game, which I always feel like if you're in the middle of a video game, sometimes you feel a little bit awkward being like, I need like help right now. Because if you're any kind of serious gamer, you know that generally you can't pause games nowadays. So anyway, he did the right thing and came over and held me, even though I felt bad about it, which is funny, but if you're a gamer, you kind of get it. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was like so emotional. I couldn't control the tears. I was just like, it's only been 4 weeks, but to not see anybody else really that you care for so tremendously in that amount of time, other than the person you live with, for example, it's isolating. It's isolating. We're all going through this, but it really hit me last night and I was just like a frickin' train wreck of tears for 10-15 minutes, and then it kind of subsided a little bit, but whew, Julie, that drive-by present was bit of a knockout for me. Okay, I've got the green in place. I'm gonna switch to lid color now, and I'm gonna use Diversion over here. I feel like I always use Power Cut, but I want to try something different, and I'm going to use Diversion. So I'm just using that on a flat brush. Again, MAC 239, best lid brush ever. And just packing that on. So I think part of the reason why that hit me so hard yesterday when I saw her is that I had also read an article, I guess it was like words from our Prime Minister saying that we could be doing this for a full year, and I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear at all. And I kind of expected it, but hearing it being said out loud is a totally different story. And that really hit home, to be honest, because I can feel, I've mentioned this before, but I can feel quite claustrophobic in my own country if I don't travel outside of North America within a year. I just feel very constrained and like I'm not seeing the rest of the world and getting to experience different things. And for somebody to say like you can't basically go anywhere for a full year has me feeling very claustrophobic and very inhibited and unable to see and experience things. And I realize this is true for everybody. But even before this isolation situation and COVID-19 and all that, I've always felt like I needed to get out of my country and see the rest of the world. So that's why I always make an effort to travel. So knowing that I might not be doing, or will more than likely not be doing that this year, has me feeling very like boxed in, and it's very uncomfortable. Okay, lid color in place. I'm going to take Inside Job here on a fluffier kind of, I don't know, I guess I always use these kind of brushes on the outer corner of my eye. I either use a MAC 217 or the Real Techniques base shadow brush. And Inside Job is a dark green because I want to deepen up this area here. There's actually a bit more blue in that green than I was expecting. It's been a long time since I've used this palette, I think. And just to make it a little bit deeper in that outer corner area, because I always like a super deep crease, I'm going to go in with Temptress, which is a black, and just put that really at the baseline down here. Okay, brow bone highlight shade. I'm going to try Poof. Ooh, I almost stuffed this right up my nose. But I think just like last week, it's going to be a little bit too dark, but I want to give it a shot. Actually, it seems to be fine. Not what I was expecting at all. Looks funny. It looks quite deep in the pan, to be honest. Okay, I'm not going to do a wing liner today, but because I am going to be putting false lashes on, I still have to create some sort of a line next to my lashes, otherwise the lash band will stick out. So I'm still going to go in with my Physicians Formula eye booster, but I'm not going to wing it out. I'm really just going to end it at the very corner of my eye. Okay, we'll go back to the eyes in a little bit, but I'm gonna finish off the face first, because that's my habit. Going in with the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer first, just putting one pump of that all over my face. And then for foundation, I'm going to be using the Too Faced Peach Perfect Foundation, and I'm in the shade Snow, and I'm using a damp beauty blender. I mentioned recently in a products I've changed my mind about video, I guess it was, that I now prefer the beauty blender over the Real Techniques sponge, just because I feel like this lasts so much longer now than a Real Techniques sponge did. I used to be ride or die for those Real Techniques sponges, but in the last few years, the quality of them has degraded so much that I don't have the patience to be spending $7 on a sponge that's basically going to shred the first time I wash it. It's torn so easily in the recent years, and I don't know what's going on, because they've sworn up and down that they haven't changed the formula of their sponges, but I just feel they're completely different. So I started using a beauty blender, probably this one, about a year ago, and I still wash it all the time, and it's never torn. And even though this is so much more expensive than a Real Techniques sponge, in the long run, it's really not. It's more cost effective because it will last so much longer. Again, I've had this for over a year now, and it cleans out just fine, and it's not gross, and it's like, you know, not tearing on me, versus the Real Technique sponges I feel like disintegrate so easily now. So I am completely converted over to beauty blenders now. I am not buying any more Real Technique sponges. Once this one dies, I will have to run through my stock of Real Technique sponges, and I probably have about 8 of them sitting there. But once that's over, beauty blender all the way. Okay, for bronzer today, I'm gonna be using my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I so desperately wanna finish this thing, but it's gonna be a while with the isolation happening. But it's in my project pan, so I at least wanna use it for some of these videos. I'm trying to figure out what to do about the update for the project pan, because I don't feel like I've had a ton of progress on things just because I haven't been wearing them daily. But maybe it'd still be worth seeing, because some of the stuff in there is like moisturizer and face masks. Not all of it's makeup. So maybe I should really just film that soon. Ooh, that's stuck right there. Oh, come on, blend out. For blush, I'm using one of my favorites. This is by Tarte. This is the mini size of their Party Blush, which came in the Sephora birthday gift from a few years ago. Tarte blushes, though, are some of my absolute favorites. And I prefer to use them with a stippling brush like this. This is the MAC 130, I believe. Looks like it, but it's mostly rubbed off. And then for highlighter, I'm going to use one by INGLOT because I think it kind of matches my lid shade a little bit. This is the INGLOT Intense Sparkler Face, Eyes, Body Highlighter in the shade 11. 11. I like these because there's not just like a base color in there, but there's also specks of glitter, which makes me really happy. Okay, back in on the face here. I've seen some people, not in my videos, but in other people's videos or on Twitter, saying that they wish people would leave doing their brows in more on their videos. So I'm gonna try. I might just chop and change it a little bit, but you can get the gist of what I'm doing with my brows through this, hopefully. So I'm starting with the IT Cosmetics Brow Power. And so I fought this for absolute years, but my brow starts over here. Okay, and everyone says that you're supposed to start it, do I have something straight, at, like where the tip of your nose is. So like technically over here. I never really agreed with that because I was like, but that's not where my brow starts. And I don't have much brow hair to begin with, so I don't want to make it look too artificial. So I fought doing that for years and only did my brows from here on out. Recently, I've started to fill in this gap where there's no hair, and I think it does look better. But I hate admitting that because it means that I was wrong to begin with. So what I do now is I take the IT Cosmetics Brow Power and I basically start, I don't know, half a centimeter out from where my brow hair actually starts, and then just start flicking it up. And once I have a few of those hairs in place, I will then do a straight line down here for some structure. And then I'll just keep flicking this up here until it gets to the sort of height that I want. And the point for me is not to fill it in too much, but make it look like there's sort of hairs there, which can be very difficult because my desire to fill it in like a block is pretty strong. Like I just want to keep coloring until it looks like a, I don't know, like a Lego brick or something. But you kind of got to stop, otherwise it looks too blocky. And I'm not saying I'm always successful with it, but sometimes it looks good and sometimes it's a little bit too filled in. Anyway, once that's done, I then take this same pencil and draw the bottom line of my brow in, because I've got to create this tail down here and connect it all together. So I will do that basic shape on both brows before I continue with the next product. Okay, so that's the basic bottom shape. I don't like much of an arch to my brow, just because I don't feel like they naturally go that way. So I like to create them essentially kind of almost straight across with a very slight curve to them. So once I have the IT Cosmetics Brow Power on, I then go in with usually the NYX Micro Brow, but right now I'm using the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil. And this is just one of those micro tip ones. And I'll just fill in the top section with strokes. And I'm not very precise with this. I'm not looking to create like hairs with this. I'm just filling in the gap because I feel like the micro brow does a better job of filling in the top area. So you can see the difference between these two brows here. Like this has more of a fill-in aspect to it versus this is just like carving out the original shape. And this is where I used to basically stop with my brows, but recently I started adding in the Benefit Precisely My Brow to add a little bit more bulk. Because I don't have much brow hair to begin with, I'm just looking to plump up the brow hairs that I already do have to make them look a little bit fuller. So I'll take the Precisely My Brow and then just comb the hairs up so they kind of stick up atop the line that I've created at the top to make it look a little bit more bushier and I guess more natural. And because I don't really have any hairs in here because they're all drawn on, it can be a little bit difficult to make that part look realistic, but at a certain point I just give up because I just don't have brow hair in that area. So that is basically it. If you notice any gaps, you can go back in with a pencil. But that's how I've been doing my brows lately, and I have to say I'm the happiest I've ever been with my brows. I've always griped about how much I hate doing them, and I hate how long it really takes to do them. But these three products have looked the best, I think, on my brows, and I'm kind of glad that I got something down that I'm enjoying, because now it's like everybody else. I look back on old photos or old videos of brows that I have on my face, and I'm like, ooh, I really don't like that. So for now, I'm really pleased with this, and it's working for me. Okay, back to finish up the eyes though. I'm gonna first tight line and then go in with the bottom shadows. So I'm going to be using the Tarte Sex Kitten liner. This is just a black liner, and I'm gonna do the top and bottom waterlines. I used to find this really ticklish, and I still kind of do, especially on the inner corner, but practice definitely makes perfect in this respect. And then I'm gonna layer this with black down here. This is, do you see how it's going on? It's so freaking creamy. And when I'm doing this on the bottom line, I also want to get it between the lashes and then rub it out with a pencil brush. So it's kind of messy there. What I'll do is take a pencil brush, if I can find one here. There we go. And then just rub it back and forth between the lashes so that it can not cause such a gap between them when I apply my lower lash line color. And I don't know if people with dark eyelashes have to do this, but because mine are like translucent / blonde, I have to do this or I've got like a nasty gap between them. Okay, that's in place. So back to the palette now, and what am I gonna do here? I think I'm just gonna take both greens and layer them. So I'm gonna take Inside Job first and put that the closest to my lash line. And then to buff it all out, I'm going to take Potion, which is the color that we used in the upper crease, and then just buff that out. Oh, that went way too far there. Ugh. How the heck did that happen? Okay, I'm gonna go in with my Wet n Wild single and just sort of blur out the edges there. Well, that definitely ended up very blown out. Holy. That's fine. Okay, inner corner highlight, I'm gonna go in with Power Cut, just because it's the lightest shimmery shade in the palette, and just roll into the inner corner of my eye. For mascara, I'm still rocking the Benefit Bad Gal Bang, and I probably will until we get out of isolation, because I'm only using it once a week. For falsies, I'm going to use some of my favorites. They are the Tarte Flirt lashes, I think. Yeah, these ones are Flirt. The other one are that I really love are called Center of Attention. And I think these ones are almost done, so I'm just going to use them until they fall apart. So while this lash glue dries, I gotta say we finished watching Tiger King. I know everybody was raving about it just for being absolutely insane, the stuff that's going on in that series and in the world of big cats. But I have to say, I did enjoy watching it. It was pretty horrible, to be honest. I did not like seeing how the animals are so mistreated, seeing like panthers and lions and tigers, and I don't know. I really found it kind of heartbreaking, to be honest. I was going into this hoping that there was going to be more focus on the animals, and instead it was so focused on how utterly insane some of these people are and how they're total predators and they're taking advantage of young people. That's only one aspect of it, is the fact that they've got like these young teenagers who are basically becoming sex slaves to them. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But then how they're treating the animals, and sometimes they don't have enough food. I was just like, this is a miserable friggin' series. I didn't look forward to watching the episodes, and when we finally watched the last one, I think it was yesterday, I was like, thank heavens we're done, because I don't want to hear any more about these people and the horrible things that they're doing. And I can only hope that all of them go to jail and all of them stay there, because they just seem horrific. And honestly, I know everyone's like, oh, Carol Baskin killed her first husband or whatever, but I don't know. Out of all of it, she seems like the best person out of them, because everybody else is just horrible. And maybe I don't know enough of her backstory and all that kind of stuff, but she was definitely seemed like one of the more reasonable ones, and all the other ones are just out of their freaking minds. So I know it was a big hit and everybody was telling me to watch it, but I honestly can't tell why people enjoyed it so much, because I just thought it was so depressing to watch. Okay, so for lips, we're going to use one of my absolute favorite nude liquid lipsticks. This is by Suva Beauty. It's called Awakening, and I feel like it always goes with really intense looks like this. It's slightly pinky, but I feel like it really complements my skin tone and these darker looks. So this is the finished look of the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Dark Magic palette. I know the Vault collection got a lot of flack for having an inconsistent formula, but I have never had an issue with this palette before. And I usually do something pretty similar to what I'm wearing right now, but I love it every single time, and I really find the colors in here quite inspiring, and they work together so well. And I'm always happy when I use this, so I definitely have no complaints about that particular one from the Vault collection. So that is everything for my social isolation get ready with me for week 4. Ending week 4. I always film these at the end of the week, and now we're moving on to week 5. So if you are interested in voting on which palette I'll be using in a given week, I post that on Instagram stories. I don't really have a set date on when I ask people, but the feedback has been great, and you guys tell me what you want to see. So I will pick 2 palettes that I want to work with potentially, and then you guys can choose between the 2 which one you want to see the most. Anyway, I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.